Space of Grace today. Inspiration on the way. Going across the grain. Friends, I'm not one to go along with the majority and put stock in what the survey says. As a child, the word no always registered as yes in my head. And so when my mother said, "Don't touch something," I wanted to know why. So I went ahead anyway and touched it. Sometimes she would say, "Don't go wandering in Miss Edinburgh's yard." Miss Edinburgh, by the way, was a friend of the family and the owner of a large lot adjacent to the rear section of my grandmother's property. Her backyard produced an endless assortment of fruits, which presented the perfect adventure for a child like me. Well, one day, curiosity got the best of me, and I hopped the fence and climbed up into Miss Edinburgh's cherry tree. Several loud screams later, I was seen hightailing it back home with my lip swollen bigger than a golf ball. I had gotten stung with a wasp on the peak of my lip, and boy, did it hurt. Even after my mother squeezed the stinger out, my very inflated lip was still hurting. But that didn't stop my curiosity from taking me back into my neighbor's yard. Guys, I have always been the one to dig a bit deeper or ask the hard questions because I don't want to just be another face in the crowd. I want to see what is on the other side of my faith. I want to know what God has for my life. How about you? Many times in our lives, we base our decisions on what the survey says or what the mitigating circumstances are showing us. However, the God we serve specializes in the impossible, so he is not limited by barriers. In Luke 10, verses 25 to 37, Jesus used the parable of the Good Samaritan and how he went across the grain to make a powerful point to answer one of his disciples' questions regarding who was their neighbor. A man had been assaulted, robbed, and left for dead on the side of the road on the way to Jerusalem. One would think a priest, and definitely a Levite, would stop and help, but they did not. They ignored this man's dire situation and passed on the other side of the road, leaving him for dead. An unlikely individual, a Samaritan, saw the man lying there. He sprung into action and helped him. He put him up in a motel and paid the owner to look after him. This totally defied the culture and behavior of that time because Jews and Samaritans hated each other. The Samaritan crossed cultural norms and went across the grain to save the life of a stranger. Jesus later revealed that the Samaritan was the one who proved to be a neighbor to this wounded man. This man chose to go across the grain to help someone that was down and out. He chose to help one whom his culture had written off, but God never writes anyone off. This parable earned a noteworthy place in biblical records to communicate such a strong point of what being a good neighbor looks like. Our neighbors aren't always the best of people to get along with, but we have to go across the grain to show them God's love. Mother Teresa, in one of her quotes, puts it this way: "We, the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. we have done so much with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything with nothing. These very individuals may have hurt us. They may have lied on us, misused us, and have said all manner of evil against us. It takes effort sometimes to muster up love when we don't feel they are deserving of it. According to 1 Peter 4 verse 8, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. God looks at the heart and He sees our intent and work in us to do the impossible. I am one who believes in the greater works in this day and age, and what better individuals to use than us? And when I say us, I mean you and I, those who are led by the all-knowing. Are you willing to go across the grain to save one person who has lost their way and may have fallen into a mess of trouble along the way? Going across the grain is not always popular, but it is the right thing to do in the eyes of God. Today's reflection, 2 Corinthians 5 verse 14. It reads, "For Christ's love compels us, because we are convinced that one died for all, and therefore all died." Be encouraged, dear friends. Be the game changer in your neighborhood. Go across the grain for the purpose of Jesus Christ. This is your inspiration on the way.